Hi everybody and welcome back to LELB Society. This is our YouTube channel and I'm Dr. Hariri, the creator and founder of LELB Society. This time I'm going to give a presentation on best presentation in English for students, including over 70 lectures. And also I'm going to share the link to this article in the description area if you want to access this article and study that in more depth. And as usual, here is the table of contents, and you can just go to each entry by clicking on that and the headings, because this article is very comprehensive. And so the first heading is, what is a presentation? How to give a presentation in English for students. So a presentation is a formal speech or talk before an audience or group of attendees to describe or explain something in particular by giving facts, statistics, or opinions. Unlike a conversation or conference, a presentation or lecture is a monologue in which the lecturer or presenter is the only speaker at the podium. So, the next heading is, why is giving presentations a good practice for students? Giving presentations in English can help ESL students improve their English proficiency and do some research to acquire knowledge about another subject matter at the same time. And for this reason, actually, it's very helpful for students, ESL students, actually to give presentations voluntarily, and also or to be encouraged to give lectures. Skill integration by giving presentations. Students as lecturers can practice the 4 skills naturally to prepare a presentation. For example, they first study or read some content to collect data or information for the presentation. So this is actually reading. They might also watch good English documentaries to gather, or short films to gather some information which can indirectly improve their the lecturer's listening comprehension. And practicing the 4 skills naturally by giving a presentation in English for students. And what about the other 2 skills? While reading and listening, ESL students are supposed to take notes and write the script of the presentations. In so doing, the presenters can practice writing as well. And needless to say, the ultimate language skill that is practiced is speaking, because making a speech is a perfect example of a monologue. And content-based instruction through presentations. And if you don't know what content-based instruction is, if you just click here, you will find all the necessary information about that. So when ESL students realize that they are learning something worthwhile, for example, time management techniques, well-being, emotional intelligence, and the like, they'll develop more intrinsic motivation in second language acquisition, which is one of the aims or purposes of content-based instruction, or CBI. Content-based instruction used in giving presentations on interesting topics. Content-based instruction, or CBI, is one of the pillars of our education system or curriculum at the LELB Society. We believe in the 3rd millennium, language learners ought to be exposed to and also immersed in intriguing or interesting, exciting, and useful subject matter as shown in the popular tags. If you just click here, I'm going to share the links with you in the description area of our 4,100 plus English and Persian lessons. These lessons are restricted content on our WordPress membership website. So, because the LELB Society is a bilingual academy of English and Persian, only available to our, or exclusively available to our registered students and also colleagues. So give a dazzling presentation in English for students. Students should be free to choose the topic of their presentations. As a teacher, try not to impose topics on your students as lecturers, because your students should have some background information or knowledge and also interest in the topic they're going to give a presentation about. So this is the image of a podium. Practice giving presentations in both English and Persian Farsi at LELB Society and receive professional feedback from bilingual teachers and educators. Okay. Presenting something successfully at the podium is actually a skill that you need to practice for perfection. So the old saying of practice makes perfect does apply to this skill. Therefore, if you're an English student or you have not given any lecture yet, it's quite normal not to be comfortable with this academic and useful activity for the first time. So somehow you need to expect, sometimes actually, it is quite normal to expect some anxiety, as this is the photo of a lecturer giving a lecture for the first time, overcoming anxiety or social phobia while giving a presentation in English or for students. On the other hand, if you are an introverted person who might be suffering from social phobia, you may find this activity comparatively more challenging than extroverted people or social butterflies. To overcome this problem, you need to practice and rehearse your presentation several times before your actual performance to minimize your anxiety and boost your self-confidence. As you know, self-confidence is absolutely important to give a dazzling and impressive presentation. Okay, learn about the topic and audience of your lecture. Give a presentation in English for students impressively by getting to know your participants and the social context of your lecture. Don't forget that by becoming an expert on the assigned topic, you can boost your self-confidence tremendously, and your confidence will definitely be radiated from you to your audience. However, a presentation is not just a matter of giving valuable information or opinions about the selected topic. You need to make a good impression on your audience as well. Okay. And about your audience, try to recognize them as much as possible. For example, their age group, academic background, the number of participants, gender, whether the majority of your audience are males or females, and so forth. Apart from your audience, you need to be aware of the context of your presentation. To give a presentation in English for students, you need to distinguish whether your lecture will be held in a social, academic, cultural, etc. context. To fine-tune the script and the style of your presentation vis-a-vis or in relation to the chief characteristics of its context. So your presentation might be different. For example, if you're supposed to give a presentation in a cultural context or academic context, educational context, or actually a particular context for young learners and so on and so forth. So the content of your presentation depends on the context of your presentation to some extent. Okay, create an outline of the key points. To stay organized while making a speech, create an outline of the key points to discuss in your presentation. This outline or skeleton of your points will grant you a sense of focus, confidence, and relevancy in your performance. At the time of rehearsing for your lecture, you can specify the allocated time for each item of your outline. So, for example, this is a list of the key points or outline of the key points to cover or include in your presentation, and you can also pinpoint or write down the allocated time for each item to be able to just add all of them and estimate the overall time you need to give your presentation, the outline of the key points to be discussed in your speech. Okay, this technique will help you manage your time accurately, as time management is a very important skill you need to master for your speech delivery. Did you know many inexperienced lecturers might cope with lack of time to put a successful end to their speech? Sometimes actually they cannot complete their presentation because they don't have any extra time, and that's why rehearsal and timing should precisely be taken into account before the main performance. Nonverbal communication in presentations. Body language and nonverbal communication in impressive presentations. It's completely wrong to equate news reporting from a teleprompter with giving a presentation in English for students. As a lecturer, try to avoid memorizing the script or reading from it like a news reporter. This is not giving a presentation. Conversely, you should communicate with your audience both verbally and non-verbally. According to Ralph Waldo Emerson, the eyes of men converse as much as their tongues. To establish successful nonverbal communication with your audience, you need to pay attention to the following tips and try to implement them in your lecture as far as possible. Number 1. Don't stand motionless at the podium, reading the script of your presentation. Because that is boring. Have eye contact with all of your audience in a fair and equal manner. Avoid giving a monotonous speech by fluctuating your tone moderately in line with the saliency of your points. Number 4. Depending on the topic of your lecture, smile moderately and warmly at your audience. 5. If possible or appropriate, try to use sense of humor in your performance. Not always, by the way. 6. Learn some knowledge about kinesthetics or kinesthesis, which is the study of an individual's conscious and unconscious body movements, such as gestures, facial expressions, postures, and so forth. And evaluate your previous presentations. By the way, this article has been written by me, and it is available through the link in the description area. I'm Dr. Mohammad Hussein Haririas, and I'm the author of this article. So evaluate your previous presentations. Videotape or audio tape your presentations to evaluate them on your own. If this is your first time to make a speech, don't expect to be like a professional lecturer, for example, on TED.com or BigThink.com. In addition, don't be shy to ask for professional feedback from your friends, classmates, colleagues, teachers, etc., because sometimes others can assess our performance better than we can. After all, feedback is the breakfast of champions. So evaluate your previous lectures and project your experience onto your next presentations. Use visuals for a better presentation. Have you ever heard the English proverb that reads, "A picture is worth 1,000 words"? In spite of some exaggeration in this proverb, I believe there has been some exaggeration. The significance of using some visual aids such as tables, images, graphs, charts, diagrams, PowerPoint slides, Google Slides, etc. is undeniable. Bear in mind that your audience could listen to an audiobook instead of attending your lecture. We are living in the era of information. So your participants or audience could listen to an audiobook or a presentation, online presentation, for example, on YouTube, but they have chosen to attend your lecture. So you need to impress them in one way or another. So don't act like an audiobook, and do your best to impress your audience in one way or another. Check your dictionary as many times as you need. Fluency, accuracy, and pronunciation are the 3 pillars of your presentation when it comes to language forms. In this regard, you are expected to check any word, phrase, or sentence in your dictionary if you are not certain about their accurate pronunciation or grammar structure. You must have a perfect, let's say, performance. These 3 pillars of your presentation form are briefly explained below. Fluency, the way you utter words correctly and connectedly and smoothly, which requires adequate preparation. 2. Accuracy, well-formedness of your phrases and sentences from a structural or grammatical point of view. Pronunciation, the standard articulation or enunciation or accurate pronunciation of each single word or phrase in your delivery. Okay, give presentations in English and also Farsi asynchronously, because at LELB Society, let me just read out this part. Our English and Persian students can record their presentations in either audio or video formats and send them to us for thorough and professional feedback and analysis. Asynchronously give a presentation in English for students and also for students and members at the LELB Society, so you don't need to just attend a class and give a presentation synchronously. You can record your presentation and send it to us asynchronously, and we will analyze it in depth. Our students don't need to attend our online classes on English and Persian to give lectures, because our bilingual teachers are ready to help our students and members have the best educational experience by analyzing their essays and lectures. We do the same thing to our essayists or presenters and essayists, answering their questions in our English and Persian forums, exchanging text and voice comments and messages unlimitedly, and so forth. And having analyzed your lectures and also essays thoroughly will inform you about any possible mispronunciation, grammar mistake, or any other error in your speech or essay. As a consequence, you can learn from your own errors and improve your English and Persian in the most practical way ever. And also, all of these services could be tried free. So they are on free trial. Distribute handouts among your audience. This is another technique. Handouts are some supplementary materials in text, graphs, charts, etc. that help your audience interact with you more easily and deeply. Although distributing handouts is not necessary in all presentations, it's been proven to be extremely helpful, particularly for people with disabilities. Remember that disabled people might not be able to hear you, read your lips, and or see your face clearly to communicate with you. Okay, category of English presentations to practice speaking at the LELB Society, which is a bilingual academy of English and Persian, or Farsi, with 146 registered students so far. February of 2023, we have recorded and archived 70 plus English lectures in the category of English presentations to practice speaking. Our students have given us this consent to record their speeches and archive them. So new presentations in English, as you can see, English presentations on pros and cons of teleworking. English presentations on how to do stand-up comedy. English presentation on artificial intelligence plus reading. English presentation about life expectancy or longevity. Effects of music on mind, presentation in English. English presentation on metaverse plus reading. English presentation on benefits of keeping pets. English presentation on emotional intelligence. And you need to press this button to access and study the other 70 English presentations with reading materials and vocabulary in context. And also, if you want to improve your English and also Farsi by giving presentations and send them to us for deep analysis, you can visit our website at LELB.net and try everything, every service, every educational service free before registration. Thank you so much for your attention. Take care and bye-bye.